Yo, what's up, y'all? It's coming back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer. This wasn't going to come. It wasn't going to happen. And then the Golden State Warriors Clippers game was ridiculous. And so I have to talk about it. The first two games of the night, I'll talk about them afterwards. They weren't as interesting. So I will go ahead and start with this Clippers Warriors game. And at first, it looked like it was going to follow suit. The Heat blew out the Bucks. The Hawks blew out the Mavericks. And it looked like for a while here, the Warriors were going to follow that up and blow out the Los Angeles Clippers. And they being up 17 in the first quarter didn't bode well for the Clippers. Steph Curry had 25 in the first quarter on perfect shooting. It was ridiculous. It was an insane quarter, and it was Steph making kind of a big statement. Then in the second quarter, the Clippers won the quarter by 18, going up into the half, took a 3-point lead into the fourth quarter, which the Warriors ended up erasing by some crazy play once again from Steph Curry to win and now go to 2-0 on the season. This Warriors team is legit. They did a great job this past offseason of going out and grabbing guys that fit this team. Steph Curry, as I talked about in the video talking about the Warriors after they beat the Lakers, Steph is Steph. He's going to be amazing 99% of games, and even when he's not great, he still impacts the game in other ways outside of shooting, which if you catch Steph Curry on a lucky off shooting night, you better win that game because those come like once in a lifetime. But there are just so many players who are playing their role very, very well on this team, and it kind of goes to show how important it is to grab players that fit your team when you are trying to build a championship squad. And I do think this Warriors team, as constructed right now with the addition of Klay Thompson, are going to be a team that is trying to fight for the championship when we get to the end of the season, the playoffs. I think they're going to be a top 4 seed in the West. I predicted that in my predictions video, which if you missed, go check that out. This team is really good. This Golden State Warriors team is not last year's team. It's not just Steph Curry and a bunch of guys trying to contribute in some way. It is Steph Curry and a pretty solid roster around him. Otto Porter Jr., a pickup, he had 4, 7, and 2 in this game. Damian Lee, who had some big moments last season, had 11. Andre Iguodala with 4, 6, and 3, playing some great defense as well. Nemanja Bjelica, 6 and 6. Andrew Wiggins had 17. Draymond had 10, 7, and 7. 2 of 9 from the free throw line, which is like the most Draymond stat line ever. And of course, the player of the night, Steph Curry, 45, 10, and 1. In addition to kind of showing once again that the Warriors are legit, Steph showed why a lot of people, me included, kind of think of him as an MVP candidate. He already was one last season, and that was when his team was on the fringe of the playoffs. They didn't even make the playoffs, and a lot of people still considered him to be an MVP candidate. If his team is a top 3 seed, maybe even 4 seed, Steph might win this award. And the way that the Warriors are playing now, really the question always was going to be, was this Warriors team going to click enough for Steph to win the award? You've got it. Not only can you have a monster season, but traditionally, you've got to be one of the best teams in the West. And the Warriors right now, even if they aren't one of the most talented teams in the West, they are clicking. And that's something that's very important early on in this season. Their chemistry looks great. Their system is working well. Everyone fits the system. They know their roles on any given possession, on any given night, and that's going to do wonders for them. A lot of the teams are going to take some time to adjust. We saw the Lakers in game 1, still adjusting a lot. This Warriors team, that adjustment period was in the preseason. They didn't even need it. And now they look like they're already ready to be kind of a powerhouse team. They're super fun to watch. And when Klay Thompson gets back, they're only going to get better and they're only going to be more fun to watch. I can't wait till he comes back. But for tonight, the Warriors, another big thing, they held off in the face of adversity. This Clippers team is still solid, even without Kawhi Leonard. Paul George had 29, 11, and 6. He had a monster second quarter to help storm and help the Clippers come back in that second quarter. Eric Bledsoe, new addition, had 22, 3, and 2. It was a big game for him. Zubac had 14, 11 from Terrence Mann, 10 from Marcus Morris. Their role players are really doing very well tonight, and they still have a bunch of guys who are injured. Serge Ibaka is an example of a player who they could really have used tonight, because Zubac was really their only big. Not that they went big very often, because he only played 17 minutes, and the Warriors themselves, their only big is Kevon Looney, so they went smaller a lot of times. But having Zubac be able to play those 17 minutes and put up 14, 3, and 2, the role players did a great job. The Clippers had a good game tonight. Like I said, down by nearly 20 points. It's tough to come back in Golden State against a player like Steph Curry, and they did that. But the difference is last year's Warriors team probably would have folded. Steph Curry could have pulled some magic. But last year's Warriors team just wasn't talented and wasn't cohesive enough to stop a run like the one that the Clippers had in the second quarter. And this game, they made it look easy. It just never felt like the Warriors were really out of control of this game. The Clippers obviously did take a lead, but it always, at least for me, it always felt like Steph Curry and this team was at some point going to storm back, and that's exactly what they did. Steph was incredible, and he's going to be an MVP candidate. He could very well win the award, and if you have a roster like this, where it's Steph and solid role players that fit the system around him, you're always going to be a really solid team. This one feels like a championship team. They might not win the championship. They might even go out in like the conference finals or the second round, but they feel like a team that could win the championship. It's only 2 games into the year, but what I've seen from this team going and beating both LA teams back-to-back games, it's big. It takes a lot to go ahead and do that. They added some new pieces, but they already feel like they're integrated, so shout out to Steve Kerr for that. I like this Warriors team a lot. I think they're going to shock some people. A lot of people were like, I don't really see it. This Warriors team was a fringe playoff team. When Steph was on the court, they were almost on a 50-win pace. And now that they've got better role players, Steph's got some more help. He's maybe able to rest a bit more, avoid injury. This team is going to be really good. The Warriors are going to be a top 4 seed in the West. I can guarantee you that right now. If I'm wrong, it's very possible I'm wrong. Come back to this clip and let me know about it. But I've got a good feeling about them. I think they're going to have a great season. And this game is one of the indicators why. They did a great job. Steph is an MVP candidate, and the Warriors feel like they're very much for real. I won't talk too much about the other 2 games. This is probably going to be a shorter video because, like I said, they were blowouts. The Miami Heat won 137-95 over the Milwaukee Bucks. They were up 40-17 after one quarter. It was not even close. If you're wondering why, the Bucks were super depleted tonight. They started Pat Connaughton at center. And if you've seen Pat Connaughton, he's not a center. I'm surprised they didn't put Giannis in that role, but it's just what they went with. Their starting lineup was George Hill, Grayson Allen, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Pat Connaughton at center. And they're missing Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday, Dante DiVincenzo. They had the 60th overall pick playing big minutes. Justin Robinson, who was on a 2-way contract with OKC last season, playing big minutes. They were depleted. This is definitely a game where they didn't come into it. No one really expected the Bucks, if anyone looked at who they had on their roster, to come in and win this game. But credit to the Heat, they didn't take their foot off the gas. After they went up 40-17 in the first quarter, they continued and won every single quarter, winning by 42 points. One of the biggest margins of victory, if not the biggest margin of victory they've had in an opening game. I think it is the biggest margin. I thought I saw a stat. Jimmy Butler, 21-4-6. He left off where he was last season, where he had an incredible year. 20 for Bam Adebayo with 13 rebounds. But the guy I want to talk about in this game, and the player of the night, was Tyler Hero. A lot of people picked Tyler Hero to be their 6th man of the year guy. I picked Jordan Clarkson. Personally, I thought he's going to repeat, but Hero made a great case already tonight, showing why a lot of people picked him for this award. 27, 6, and 5 in 24 minutes. He's a monster. To be honest, the Heat bench isn't very good. The other guys that came off the bench were Markieff Morris, Max Strus, Dwayne Dedmon, and Gabe Vincent. Those were the other guys that came off the bench in non-garbage time. That's not a good bench lineup. It's just not. And so Hero has a lot of responsibility to ball handle, create for others, which we've seen him do before, but also score with that second unit. Even when he plays with a lot of guys from the first unit, it is his responsibility to stay involved. And when Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, when those guys aren't on the court, he is the guy that they look to. And he did a great job of doing that tonight. If Tyler Hero can play like this all season, it raises the Heat ceiling so much more by having that competent and super effective scorer and facilitator off of the bench. I think he can win the 6th man of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Like I said, it's a depleted bench, and the way that he plays, I think it's going to work wonders for him. I like the fact that he's coming off the bench. I think that's a great role for him at this point in his career. Tyler Hero was just super impressive tonight, and for a guy that gets a lot of flack, had that great Eastern Conference Finals performance, and then got a kind of maybe a little bit overrated, especially by like ESPN and those websites that make preseason lists before last season. People kind of really soured on him very quickly after getting super high on him in the Eastern Conference and NBA Finals. I hope people kind of turn around now, because Hero is still a really solid player, even if he's not as good as some people may think. Hero's a good player, and he is super critical to the success of this Heat team. If he has a great year, if he has a 6th man of the year type season, the Heat will be the 1 seed. That's kind of the way I see it. Victor Oladipo will hopefully for the Heat come back at some point, but for right now, Hero is carrying that bench unit, and they're going to need him to continue to play like that for them to reach their full potential. Finally, the Atlanta Hawks blew out the Dallas Mavericks. Really, the story of this game was that the Hawks role players played fantastically. John Collins, 16, 9, and 3. DeAndre Hunter, 11, and 3. And some great defense on Luka Doncic, who didn't have a good game. 12 and 13 by Clint Capella. Trae Young, I've said this in many videos before, even if he's not scoring well, he impacts the game in so many ways. 19 and 14 assists, getting everyone involved. He's just a master of facilitating the offense, getting everybody involved, getting guys the passes they need in the spots they want to be on the court. He orchestrates everything beautifully. And Trae Young really is one of the best facilitators and best playmakers, court generals in the entire NBA. It's really not even a debate to say that he's elite in that category. He's just so good. He makes everything look really easy. 11 for Bogdanovic, 20 from Cam Reddish, who had a great game. The Hawks were just clicking on all cylinders. They picked right where they left off. And this is the Hawks team that, like I said in my predictions video, if everything goes right for them, they could be a team that's in competition for the 1 seed at the end of the year. They feel like a team that's ready to make kind of a jump. I could see them being around the 4 or 5 section because there are some like superstars on other teams. But Trae Young is going to quickly try and enter that conversation if he continues to play and orchestrate the team the way that he did tonight. He had a phenomenal game and he shot terribly, and his team won by like 30. He impacts the game in so many ways. For the Mavericks, like I said, not a great game from Luka, 18, 11, and 7. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a good game with 14. Jalen Brunson, kind of a 6th man of the year sleeper, with 17. Beyond that, nothing. Dorian Finney-Smith only had 5, 4 for Dwight Powell. Kristaps, I think he shot 4 of 13 for 11 points. I said in my predictions video, he's got to be better. He is the key to this team. If he's going to play like this, the Mavericks aren't going to go anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if they dealt him at some point if he continues to play like this. I don't expect Luka to play like this, like in another game again. He's just too good. But for tonight, the Hawks kind of had clamps on him, and that was huge for them. Last year, coming into the season, big question was, can they play defense? With Nate McMillan, they quickly showed they could play defense, and they're continuing that. If they're able to continue have the offensive dynamo that is Trae Young and play this lockdown defense, they are going to be one of the toughest teams to beat in the entire NBA. Those are my thoughts on this game, on these games. Let me know what your takeaways were. If you made it to this point, drop a Steph Curry is an MVP candidate in the comment section below to let me know you got here. I appreciate y'all watching. I will see you all later. Real one, say it back.